Her identity there is nothing more dangerous, nothing more tragic, than a woman who willingly erases her identity to be loved by a man. Your identity is not simply a label or a role. It's the sum total of your beliefs, your experiences, your moral compass, your ambitions, your voice, your soul. It is the deeply complex structure that defines you. And the moment you begin to chip away at that foundation for the sake of making someone else comfortable, you start living a lie. And worse, you participate in your own diminishment. This doesn't mean relationships are void of compromise. On the contrary, compromise is necessary for mutual growth. But there is a line, a fine but crucial line between compromise and self-erasure. And when you start to feel like you can no longer recognize the person staring back at you in the mirror, when your opinions are muted, your creativity stifled, your dreams shelved, that's not compromise. That's surrender. Too often, women are taught that love requires sacrifice. But what they're not told is that sacrificing the wrong things, like your identity, will lead to resentment, disillusionment, and emotional decay. Because no relationship built on denial of the self will ever stand strong. Eventually, the soul begins to rebel. It may happen subtly at first: dissatisfaction, restlessness, an ache that can't be named. But over time, that ache grows, and it begins to whisper, "Sis isn't who you are." And that whisper is right. A woman who sacrifices her identity to fit into the life, expectations, or insecurities of a man will find herself empty, even if she's surrounded by affection. Why? Because love that requires you to disappear is not love. It's control, cloaked in intimacy. Consider this: if your beliefs change every time he speaks, if your hobbies vanish because he finds them silly, if your voice gets quieter because he doesn't like arguments, you're not in love, you're in submission. And submission that is not freely chosen but rather coerced by the fear of losing someone is a betrayal of your self-worth. True love does not demand your silence, it invites your voice. It does not require uniformity, it celebrates difference. And any man who is threatened by your strength, by your ambition, by your individuality, is not a partner, he's a captor. And no woman is born to be a captive. You must understand the world needs your identity. Not a watered-down, agreeable version of it, but the full, unapologetic, complex reality of who you are. Your ideas, your convictions, your creativity. These are not extra parts of you. They are you. And to suppress them for the comfort of another is not humility, it's self-abandonment. And let's be clear, this doesn't mean living with arrogance or being unwilling to grow. It means that any growth that happens in a relationship should be organic, not forced. It should come from mutual inspiration, not from one person folding themselves smaller and smaller to be less threatening. Some women fear that if they assert their identity, they will be alone, that strength or independence or intellectual fire might intimidate men. And they're right, it will intimidate the wrong men. But the wrong man's approval is not a prize, it's a prison sentence. If your identity scares him, he's not your partner. He's a mirror reflecting his own inadequacy. And shrinking yourself to make him feel bigger doesn't elevate him, it diminishes you. So what does it look like to protect your identity? It means setting boundaries around your non-negotiables. It means standing firm in your values, even when it creates tension. It means pursuing your goals, not in spite of the relationship, but as part of your own fulfillment. It means being proud of your complexity, your depth, your intensity, because a real man, one who is worthy of your love, won't just tolerate those things, he'll be drawn to them. You were not born to be molded into someone else's ideal. You were born to become your highest, truest self. That path demands courage. It demands clarity. And it demands that you never, ever give up your identity to secure someone else's affection. Remember, a woman who knows who she is and refuses to apologize for it is a force to be reckoned with. And the world and your future needs more of her boundaries. A woman without boundaries is like a nation without borders, vulnerable, exposed, and destined for chaos. Boundaries are not walls that keep love out. They are gates that determine who is worthy of entering and under what conditions. Many women, in the pursuit of love, believe they must be endlessly accommodating. That kindness is synonymous with passivity. That tolerance, even of mistreatment, is the price of connection. But let's be absolutely clear, there is no virtue in being so agreeable that you forget how to say no. In fact, the inability to set boundaries is not a sign of love. It's a sign of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of conflict, fear of being unloved. But here's the truth. Any relationship that survives only because you're willing to let your boundaries be crossed again and again is not a relationship. It's a slow emotional suicide. Boundaries are declarations of self-respect. They are not selfish. They are essential. When you say, "This is what I will accept and this is what I won't," you're not being difficult. You're being clear. You're being anchored. And any man who cannot respect those boundaries is not challenging your rules. He is challenging your worth. Now, let's get something straight. Boundaries are not ultimatums thrown in anger. They are not about controlling someone else's behavior. They are about owning your responsibility for how you will respond if someone chooses not to treat you with respect. A boundary is not, "You can't yell at me." A boundary is, "If you yell at me, I will walk away." It is a line drawn not in aggression, but in strength. Think about what happens when boundaries are absent. You become the receptacle of someone else's moods, their criticism, their disrespect. You become conditioned to tolerate the intolerable. You begin to think it's normal to explain your pain, justify your needs, negotiate your dignity. That's not love. That's emotional dependency dressed up as commitment. What's worse, when you let a man cross your boundaries, you teach him that it's acceptable. You reward the very behavior that is harming you. And over time, this pattern hardens. It becomes harder to reverse. You start losing your sense of what's okay and what isn't. You become someone else's mirror, reflecting their needs, their opinions, their dominance, rather than your own voice. But when a woman learns to draw the line, not out of bitterness but out of clarity, she becomes a force that commands respect. She begins to attract people who value her, not just those who want to use her. And that's the point of boundaries, not to push people away, but to filter in the right ones. A strong boundary is like a lighthouse in the fog. It says, "I know where I stand, I know what I need, I know what I deserve." And that clarity repels those who seek to exploit and attracts those who seek to build. Now, setting boundaries isn't easy. It comes with discomfort. It may even cause some relationships to end. But what's more painful? Losing someone who never truly valued you, or losing yourself just to keep them around? Here's what boundaries look like in practice: saying no without guilt, stating your emotional needs without apology, leaving situations that violate your peace, demanding consistency in words and actions, protecting your time, energy, and body. And if a man responds to your boundaries with defensiveness, guilt-tripping, or withdrawal, that's not a sign to lower the bar. That's a sign that he was never prepared to love you with maturity in the first place. But if he responds with reflection, with dialogue, with willingness to grow, then you know you've set a boundary that not only protects your heart but raises the standard of the relationship. A woman with strong boundaries is not too much. She is not hard to love. She is simply someone who refuses to settle for chaos when she is worthy of calm. She is not cold, she is clear, and clarity is power. So, to every woman, do not apologize for the space you take up. Do not shrink when you are asked to bend too far. Do not confuse love with endurance. A boundary is not a threat. It's a statement. One, I love myself enough to protect my peace, and that kind of self-respect. That's the foundation of any relationship worth having. Per purpose, there is something deeply disorienting, almost soul-crushing, about a woman giving up her purpose for the sake of a man's comfort, ego, or ambition. Your purpose is not a hobby. It is not an optional part of who you are. It is the fire that drives you, the internal compass that gives your life direction, meaning, and vitality. And when that fire is extinguished to make someone else shine brighter, the result isn't balance. It's betrayal. A betrayal of self. Every woman is born with a unique constellation of gifts, curiosities, and callings. Whether that purpose expresses itself through a career, a cause, an art form, a mission, or even the conscious decision to lead and nurture a family, it is still hers. It does not exist to be subordinate to someone else's dreams. It does not exist to be set aside, just because a relationship demands more time, energy, or emotional compromise than it should. Let's state it plainly. You are not a supporting character in someone else's movie. You are the lead in your own story. And while love, at its best, is about mutual elevation, too often, women are encouraged, subtly or overtly, to sacrifice their ambitions in order to maintain peace or make space for a man's goals. That's not love. That's assimilation. And assimilation kills the spirit. If you find yourself slowly walking away from your dreams, shelving your talents, or downplaying your voice because it makes someone uncomfortable, you are not evolving. You are disappearing. And the tragedy is that most women don't even notice it's happening until it's too late. It begins with small compromises, skipping a class, turning down a job, letting him talk over you in conversations, telling yourself it's not the right time, or she needs me more than I need this. But over time, you start waking up in a life that feels foreign. You feel uninspired, lost. You become resentful not just toward him, but toward yourself, for giving up the things that once made you feel alive. Now here's the hard truth. If you sacrifice your purpose, you will eventually sacrifice the relationship too. Because no man, no matter how loving or devoted, can fill the void created by a woman who has abandoned her calling. You cannot outsource meaning. You cannot trade your purpose for intimacy and expect to thrive. One day, the part of you that was silenced will demand to be heard. And if it has been suppressed for too long, it will not whisper, it will scream. Purpose is non-negotiable. And a healthy relationship, it supports that. It amplifies it. A man who truly loves you wants to see you rise. He is not threatened by your ambition, he is inspired by it. He does not ask you to dim your light. He builds a life with you where you both shine, in different but equally powerful ways. If your purpose becomes a burden to him, then you are not loved. You are being used. Let me be very clear. Pursuing your purpose does not make you selfish. It makes you accountable to your potential. And the world does not need more women who have dulled themselves into submission for relationships. It needs women who are fully alive, deeply engaged in their own missions, fully connected to their own values. So what does it look like to protect your purpose? You make space for your passion, no matter how busy life gets. You defend your dreams even when others mock or dismiss them. You keep growing even when those around you stagnate. You do not apologize for having goals of your own. You stop asking for permission to be great. And if someone tells you that your ambition is intimidating, ask yourself, why is his comfort more important than your calling? Why must you be small so he can feel big? The truth is, a purpose-driven woman elevates everything she touches. Her energy is infectious. Her vision is inspiring. Her life is magnetic. She challenges mediocrity, not because she is harsh, but because she is alive. And that kind of energy, it does not destroy relationships, it builds empires, when matched with the right man. So to every woman reading this, you do not need to choose between love and purpose. The right man will never ask you to. And if you are being asked to choose, you already know what the answer is. Choose purpose. Choose fire. Choose the version of you that you'll be proud of at the end of your life. Because a life without purpose is not peaceful. It's wasted. Her peace. Peace is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is the emotional foundation upon which clarity, creativity, and strength are built. And yet, too many women trade their peace for relationships that do nothing but deplete them. They live in constant emotional turbulence, convinced that love means tolerating chaos. It doesn't. Let's make something very clear. A woman should never sacrifice her peace to keep a man. Peace is not the absence of problems. It's the presence of stability, emotional safety, and respect. It's the inner calm that allows you to think clearly, act wisely, and stay grounded in who you are. When a relationship strips you of that, when your nervous system is constantly on edge, your sleep disrupted, your joy diminished, something is terribly wrong. Many women, especially those who are empathetic, high in conscientiousness, and naturally nurturing, fall into a dangerous trap. They begin to normalize dysfunction. They convince themselves that the emotional roller coaster is just part of being in love, or worse, that they are the problem. Too sensitive, too demanding, too emotional. But no, you are not tied too much for expecting peace. You are wise, you are grounded, you are sane. And here's why this matters. A chaotic relationship hijacks your mind. It takes your energy away from your goals, your growth, and your well-being. You begin to use all your mental and emotional bandwidth trying to interpret his mood swings, walk on eggshells, fix what he broke, or manage the fallout from yet another unnecessary fight. This is not love. This is survival mode. And when you live in survival mode, your body suffers, your confidence deteriorates, and your soul begins to whisper, "This isn't what you were made for." It's tempting to stay. He's charming. Maybe the highs feel euphoric. Maybe you believe that if you just love him enough, if you just stay calm, if you just give it more time, he'll finally change. But here's the truth that too many people are afraid to say out loud. Love is not supposed to hurt more than it heals. Real love brings calm. Real love builds trust. Real love allows you to breathe freely, not brace yourself for the next emotional storm. Peace isn't boring. It's rare. It's the result of maturity, self-respect, and two people who know how to communicate without destruction. And if you've never experienced that kind of relationship, don't lower your standards. Raise them. Because what you tolerate today becomes your emotional reality tomorrow. Let's talk about what it looks like when your peace is being sacrificed. You're constantly anxious when he doesn't reply, but terrified to bring it up. You overanalyze everything you say or do, afraid of triggering a fight. You feel more relief when he's away than joy when he's near. You find yourself isolated from friends, family, even yourself. You cry more than you laugh, and your laughter feels fake. These are not signs of light working through it. These are signs that your emotional safety is being eroded day by day. And the longer you stay in an environment that violates your peace, the harder it becomes to remember what calm even feels like. But here's the empowering truth. You are allowed to walk away from anything that disturbs your peace. You are allowed to say, "See, I don't care how much I love him. If this costs me my sanity, it's not worth it." That is not weakness. That is strength. A peaceful woman is not detached. She is not cold. She is focused. She is alive. She is emotionally intelligent enough to know that love without peace is not love, it's addiction. And she refuses to keep drinking from a cup that poisons her spirit. To protect your peace, you must be willing to let go of people who thrive on drama, say no to emotional manipulation disguised as passion, value quiet, consistent love over chaotic, explosive chemistry, trust your intuition when it says, "This isn't right." And yes, protecting your peace might mean being alone for a season, but solitude with clarity is far more empowering than company that corrodes your soul. Remember this, peace is the soil in which joy, purpose, and self-respect grow. You cannot become the woman you're meant to be in a war zone. You must be brave enough to walk away from anything that requires you to become less peaceful just to be loved. A woman at peace is unstoppable. She doesn't react, she responds, she doesn't beg, she chooses. She doesn't settle, she aligns. So protect your peace like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does.